Have you ever heard the story about the shepherd boy who became a king? Well, that's David. He was chosen to wear the crown, but wow, his journey to get there was long, it was dangerous, and it took an incredible amount of patience. Let's dive into how he finally managed to unite a kingdom that was completely torn in two.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. You're told you are destined to be the leader, but there's a huge problem. Someone else is already on the throne, and a really powerful army commander wants to make sure you never get there. That is the exact spot David found himself in right after the death of Israel's first king, Saul. So, with King Saul gone, you'd think the path would be totally clear for David, right? Nope. It was way, way more complicated than that. His journey to the throne starts with just a single, very careful step, following instructions that he believed came straight from God. For years, David had basically been on the run, hiding out in the wilderness. But now it was finally time to come home. He's told to go to the city of Hebron, so he gets his 600 loyal soldiers, their families, everyone, and they all make the journey together to this really ancient and important city. And when he gets there, the people of his own tribe, Judah, welcome him with open arms. They immediately hold a coronation and anoint him as their king. You know, that's a special ceremony where they use sacred oil to show everyone he was chosen by God. But here's the catch, and this is David's first big test of leadership. He's only king over one part of the land. The rest of Israel isn't on his side, at least not yet. So while David is getting crowned down in the south, a whole other plan is unfolding up in the north. See, a powerful guy from the old king's court decides he does not want David in charge, and he's about to create a massive problem for our new king. Now, the man behind all of this is a guy named Abner. He was King Saul's top general. And let me tell you, he was ambitious, he didn't play by the rules, and he could not stand David. So to hang on to his own power, he finds Saul's son, Ishbosheth, who frankly was not a very strong leader, and makes him king over all the other tribes. Abner was the real one in charge here, just using Ishbosheth like a puppet. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. You've got a nation literally split right down the middle. King David is in Hebron, ruling his home tribe of Judah. And then you have King Ishbosheth over in Mahanaim, ruling the rest of Israel. It's such a clear contrast. One king, chosen by God with a real claim, and another who's just being propped up by a commander who's hungry for power. With two kings both claiming to be the rightful ruler, this division could only lead to one thing: war. And this wasn't some quick battle. It was a long, hard struggle between the house of Saul and the house of David. This quote from the source material really says it all. For years, they fought. But you could see a clear pattern emerging. David's side, his support, his army, it all grew steadily stronger. Meanwhile, the house of Saul, led by Abner and his puppet king, just got weaker and weaker. David's patience and his character were winning people over. But you know what? This war doesn't end with some big final battle on a field. No way. It ends with a series of shocking twists, betrayals, and even murders that just change everything in an instant. Let's see how this all went down. Okay, so the first big shock comes from Abner himself. He gets into this huge argument with his own king, Ishbosheth. Abner's pride is hurt, he's furious, and he decides, that's it, I'm switching sides. He secretly gets in touch with David and promises to bring all the rest of Israel over to him. It seems like the war is finally about to be over. But then, something completely stunning happens. David's own general, a man named Joab, had a personal grudge against Abner. See, Abner had killed his brother in a battle before, so seeing his chance for revenge, Joab tricks Abner, pulls him aside, and murders him in cold blood. So, just like that, David's most powerful enemy commander is gone. Now, on the surface, this seems like great news for him, doesn't it? It gets rid of a huge problem. But what do you think? How did David react when he heard what his own general had done? David was absolutely horrified. Instead of celebrating, he holds a public funeral and actually mourns for his former enemy. This was just a masterclass in leadership. He made Joab, the murderer, take part, and he showed everyone in Israel that he was a man of integrity who would not win through dirty tricks, even against a rival. With Abner gone, Ishbosheth's kingdom just completely falls apart. He's weak, he's unprotected, and seeing this, two of his own captains decide to just end it. They sneak into his house while he's taking an afternoon nap, and they murder him. So these two captains, thinking they've just done David this huge favor, rush over to Hebron with, well, gruesome proof of what they did. They present Ishbosheth's head to David, totally expecting to be praised and rewarded for getting rid of his last rival. So how did David respond this time? He was furious, absolutely furious. He told them flat out that he would not have his throne built on treachery. He basically asked them, "If I punish the man who killed Saul, what do you think I'm going to do to you, wicked men, who murdered a righteous person in his own bed?" This was a defining moment for David. He proved he would rather wait for the crown than grab it through wickedness, and he immediately had his soldiers execute the murderers. With the rival king gone, and with David proving his honorable character for all to see, the path was finally clear. The long, painful war was over. It was time for this divided nation to finally become one. The elders and the leaders from all the other tribes, the same guys who had been fighting against him, they all traveled to Hebron. They came to David and said, "We are your own flesh and blood." They finally acknowledged him as their true leader and officially asked him to be king over all of Israel. And we're not talking about some quiet little meeting. The text describes this massive gathering. We're talking nearly 500,000 people. The same people who were his rivals, flooding into Hebron to be there for this historic moment and to pledge their loyalty. It must have been an incredible sight. The coronation itself was a huge deal. It was official, it was sacred, and it brought everyone together. First, the elders made a formal agreement with him. Then, the high priest anointed him again with the sacred oil. Next, the royal crown was placed on his head. And finally, all the people pledged their loyalty. And just like that, it was done. After all those years of hiding, of waiting, of fighting a civil war, the promise was fulfilled. The shepherd boy, whose leadership was built on patience and honor, was now the one and only king of a united Israel. This final quote just sums up everything that happened next. From that day forward, David's reign was a huge success. He grew in strength and in fame, and his kingdom became great. It was the start of a golden age for the entire nation. So as we wrap this up, here's something to think about. David refused to take any shortcuts. He absolutely rejected murder and betrayal, even when it would have made his life a whole lot easier. He chose patience and honor over a quick grab for power. What does his story teach us about the kind of character it takes to be a true leader?